Hey everybody, welcome back to Superhuman Customs. I'm Stephen Human, and today we have another one of those where it's just a bunch of leftover crap. So I got Project Superman, and as you know, I am using the head to finish up my Superman 1 million, and I've got this body. And I don't like wasting anything because, as we all know, you spend money on a toy and you don't want to waste it. At least that's how it is for me. So what we're gonna do with this guy is we're gonna take this head, which is an infected Superman head, and this hair, which is from the criminal, which has the sad Joker face, and we are turning this guy into a Batman Beyond Joker. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this. We're gonna use some head swappage and some different hair and all this stuff, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun. So let's get to it. All right, he looks a little weird, but I think it's gonna look cool. Now, in order to get his hairpiece to fit, we're gonna have to grind him down a little bit, so let's do that. Now let's give him a quick shade of black. That's all we need. While the body's drying, I'm gonna paint the face. Now what I've done is I've watered down the white quite a bit because this has so much detail on it in the face and stuff. I don't want it to look like, just straight white. I want it to have, you always want to start with a darker color, right? Well, this is how you do it, is that we're gonna go through here, move it around, and the flesh tone will still kind of be seen through. And that's what we want. So now I'm gonna get all the paint off. I'm gonna move it around a little bit more. And that'll give it a really nice texture. Something a little bit different. Once he's dry, a great thing to do is go through with a little bit more thick paint and hit some of these areas. Just the areas that would really stand out. So like the nose, the chin, a little bit of the forehead. Make them so that they are more white. That will just give you a little bit more of like how it would actually hit the light. These areas would stand out more, and it will allow you to just have a little bit more natural tone, because the skin's not being stretched quite so much. It's not being stretched quite so much in those places, and so it would be more white. It's perfect. Now, using the magnifying glass, we are going to concentrate on the facial details. So we're looking at the eyebrows, adding some green here, and we're looking at the lips. And I got to use the magnifying glass for this, because if I don't, well then I'm not going to be able to see well enough to get these details in. When doing this kind of stuff, you want to use the smallest brush you possibly can with only a little bit of paint on it. Now, to accent the teeth, I'm going to add a little bit of wash. So I'm just going to do a couple of drops, and then I'm going to mush it around like I usually do. I'm going to use a different paintbrush for that so that it doesn't stay just in its place, so that it hits those little areas between the teeth. It's important to do stuff like this just so that things stand out. We got to get the hands too. They got to be white. We're gonna do the exact same thing. Water down the white paint, and we're just gonna go over them. Do a little bit of a couple of layers, add highlights where we need to. Body is dry, and now we gotta paint the neck. So we don't want anything kind of standing out in the wrong way on any of these guys, and the skin color that doesn't match will stand out super fast. So you always gotta make sure that it's matching whatever it is you're doing. Let's go ahead and glue the hair on. Just using regular super glue. Can I get it in place? Now in Batman Beyond, he had less hair than this. I don't care. I like this hair. We're gonna use it. Now I'm just gonna go through using the magnifying glass, and I'm going to thin up these lips a little bit with the white and add a little bit more detail in white, just covering things up so that things are just a little bit tighter. This is an important part because oftentimes things will just be too thick. And in this case, the red on the lips is too thick. And I want to add some highlights to the rest of the face. And so go through nice and slow with a thin brush, little bit of paint, and get those to where you feel they should be. Right now I'm just going through on some of these lines on his forehead and adding a little bit more white paint just to make them stand out. Because you can see that the wash we put over is still keeping a nice like gray area underneath, but adding some highlights to some of these areas where the light would catch will go a really long way to just making this guy look a little bit more real and cool looking. If you look right here, when I made my super soldier figure, I cut off this guy's ears in order to make those. So what I've done is with a little bit of fabric paint, I've gone through and I've molded some ears, but I want them to match everything else because right now they're just really, really white. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of wash and just put it in there so that they stand out. And I just got a text that I should probably check. I ended up getting a few spots of white just on my fingers while I was going through and painting this guy. So I'm gonna do a quick brush of black just over the top again before I add our purple. So I'm just gonna kind of go through here and make sure that all of this stuff is black. And his face is looking really good. So I'm not sure what else I'm gonna do with that. He's looking nice. So when you get stuff like this, just make sure you go through and get it so that the stuff gets covered. While we've got the black out, I'm gonna paint his fingernails. That was one of the things I love about this version of the Joker is that he had like giant Frankenstein hands and he had black fingernails that just added a really nice texture to the character as a whole. Made him just that much more creepy. So I'm just gonna go through and hit those so we've got that detail as well. One thing I wanna do is I wanna yellow up his teeth a little bit. But obviously this yellow is way too much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna put some over here with my other paints, and I'm gonna add some water. And what that's gonna do is allow me to put a very light coat of the yellow on the teeth so that it doesn't become like yellow teeth, it just becomes teeth that have a yellow tint to them. All right, our last stage is I'm gonna take this paint. You guys remember this is a model paint and I bought it very early in my customizing career last year and it destroys my paintbrushes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a Q-tip and I'm going to dab this in the darker areas because this Joker is a very dark purple. I don't want to completely cover him, but I want to allow the areas to kind of be highlighted in the black because this is a very dark purple, so it should work out nice and just accent stuff. We'll see how it looks. I'm not quite sure if it'll work 100%, but we'll see. What I'm gonna do real quick right now is just take a little bit of black and kind of go over some of these areas because I ended up just pretty much covering him with a really light dusting of the purple. So I'm just gonna kind of go through almost as a dry brush and kind of move this around just to give it a little bit more definition in some of these areas, make it look a little bit cooler, and then we will spray him. And let's gloss up the Joker. That's a pretty awesome Joker. I love how big the hands are. I love how the purple turned out. I'm really, really happy. Now, obviously, Batman Beyond Joker has shorter hair. I don't care. I think this hair looks really great. This is my version. You guys make your versions. Don't be afraid to experiment and try something, and if it's not exactly what other people will think that it should be, don't be beholden to that opinion. Make your own. Be bold. Have some fun. This is my Batman Beyond Joker. I'm digging him. I'm Stephen Human. Check out my sci-fi thriller novels at stephenhuman.com if you guys want to read, and I'll see you next week on Superhuman Customs.